Hey everybody, it's Chris, and I want to talk about a new project that I have been working on in Unreal 5.6. I have been working through the different variants of these template projects. If you have not checked these out, when you go to a new project and you choose first person, third person, these different types of templates, a lot of them now have variants in Unreal 5.6, and it gives you a bunch of really cool uh, demo projects to work with, templates to work with. And one of the very nice things about these is that they are not very well equipped with sounds, which means that they give a lot of opportunity to add our own custom stuff. So I have been working in this for this instance. I've been working particularly with this arena shooter project, and this is what it looks like. Well, actually, this is not what it looks like. I've added a couple of materials because I'm also doing a footsteps thing. But this is generally what it looks like. And it has one of the things I really enjoy about it is it does have bots. Um, and it has weapons, and it is a kind of a first person shooter setup here. It gives us lots of material to work with. It's got a couple of different weapon types. It has projectiles, and this is actually what we're going to be talking about. Are these projectile impacts and creating sounds for those. It has different things to shoot. It has, like I said, it has bots somewhere. Um, the default project is actually, or the template as it is set up, these bots don't actually move. But if you go in, oh, where is it? If I go to blueprints and I go to, let me go, let's do it this way, make sure I find the right thing. Details, outliner, it's these guys. Yeah, FP Shooter AI. And I have found that if you change these particular AI control classes to BP AI controller, I'll actually move around. Not that guy, the other guy. I didn't change that guy. And he's gone. Where'd he go? Anyway, there are AI bots available in this level. There he is. Where'd he go? There he is. He's got a weapon now. Aren't you chasing me? There you go. Wake up. Anyway, so it does have bots, it has weapons, it has physics, it has all sorts of fun things. And while I was testing this out, actually, I want to go back and undo that because I don't want them chasing me around the whole time. Then I would actually have to be good at the game and wouldn't be able to get the fun stuff that I want to get accomplished. So I picked up this weapon and shot these things, and I saw these bullet impacts, and I saw the little wobble there, and I said, I would like to make a Metasound synthesis patch that involves that little wiggle wobble there, and kind of mess around with that because it would be more fun to do this on the synthesis side of things than directly with only samples because you might not get exactly the correct wobble there. And so I went looking around to figure out how does that wobble wobble. It's kind of obvious here, but I was looking around at the different blueprints. Where is it? Blueprint classes. And I typically am over here looking at this column, but sometimes when I'm just looking for something, you can maybe more easily identify things by just actually checking out this view. And so I found the pistol bullet and I said, okay, after hunting around, there is the actual impact or bullet that hits. And so where does the wobble happen? And so we got an event hit. It's got to be somewhere around there. There's not much else going on here. And so in the event graph, right, there's not too much happening. You find the event hit, and you find collision enabled, and you work your way down here. And this spawn sound attached was not there, but I did find the wiggle. And it was very nice that they named this this particular timeline wiggle, and you can see here, this sort of matches what we visually see from that projectile impact. And so I noticed that this goes between a +1 and -1 and sort of calms down around 0, which makes a whole lot of sense. And so then what does it do? It takes that 1 and -1 value and passes it into add relative rotation, so that when you shoot something, I'm gonna go pull it. I'll use the pistol this time. So when you shoot something, you get that little wobble. Okay, so now I had my data, and that's when I plugged in my sound, and that's what we're really eventually getting to. Actually, I added an audio component directly to the bullet projectile, and then added a sound and passed that -1 value over to set float parameter, which is going to send a parameter input into my Metasounds. It's going sending on the same audio component, or using the same audio component, which means it is using this sound that I created and expertly named boing. All right, so we are going to find my Metasound source called boing, because technically it is a boing sound that wiggles as opposed to a wiggle sound that boings. So we have a couple of different things going on, and this is I'm actually in this video looking for maybe a little bit of synthesis help and advice about where I might explore this a bit further. And so the way I have broken this down is I have a couple of different sources that are creating sound for this. I will probably preface saying that this is maybe a little bit overkill for just a simple bullet impact, but since this entire exploration or experiment was revolving around that bullet impact, I went and made a whole bunch of different stuff to work with. So starting out, we have our kind of noise oscillator. We have our tonal oscillator, and when I say oscillator, it's actually multiples. But tonal generator, and then I have an impact. So just to start out and give a sense of what this sounds like, again, in the actual game, there is no sounds. So this gives us a whole bunch of wonderful opportunity for sounds. And so if I, actually, you know what? I'm going to pick up the automatic weapon so I get more easier opportunity to fire these off. And let's start out with just the impact. I'm going to bring this off to another screen so I can easily fire the weapon, and then the impact itself. Okay, so some of this is we want to improve the sound design overall, but to start out with this impact, I do have this cranked up overall compared to the other sounds that are a little, you'll see here that this filters very quickly, so I have to crank it up to actually give more of the sound of the source. So this is a noise generator, and all it does is it has a low pass filter that sweeps very, very quickly. 5 milliseconds, it goes from 10,000 hertz down to 20 hertz, and just filters very quickly. And so that's how you get that sort of, let's see, can I bring these up together somehow? Ooh, let's do this. Maybe this will be, I don't know, that helps. Let's do this. Let's take you and make you little. Just kind of over here. There we go. Firing a weapon. Okay, so as I fire, this filter just filters very quickly. It gives us that low end thump of the impact. All right. Then we have our noise generators. And between the noise and the tonal side of things, let me just show you where a lot of this inspiration came from. Designing Sound. Great book for all sorts of information on synthesis, and I'm not going to find the page, but there's a whole chapter called Boing, which was a great reference for this, and so I took the ideas there. It was more describing a ruler kind of banging, synthesizing the sound of a ruler banging against a table, vibrating very quickly, but it described the noise side of things and the tonal side of things. And so on the noise side of things, what this basically breaks down to is 6 filters, 6 bandpass filters across a noise generator. And those filters, those bands of noise are at certain intervals or certain harmonics, and they are then moved at different intervals, and they sort of wobble with that pitch, or sort of wobble with the projectile. Okay, so let's do this. Let's talk about the wiggle pitch input. If you remember all the way back over here, I had a parameter going into the Metasound called wiggle pitch input. And so this is the wiggle that happens. Again, it was those values of 1 to -1. Then I have a range because, of course, the thing that we want to modulate is probably not going to be between 1 and -1. That's just the normalized range. So then we need to put it into the range that we want, and that is a selectable range. And that goes to the wiggle out. And the wiggle out eventually is going to drive the cutoff frequency of these. But you're not just wiggling at any location. You're not wiggling, you're wiggling these bands in a particular range. And so we have our base frequency. And this is the kind of fundamental of the noise, of the filters applied to the noise. And then there are harmonic bands. So what I do is this is the first band, and then I add another number to create each one of our harmonic bands. And typically that number would be 1. And so each time we would have first band, second band, third band, fourth band, and that would be the multiple that would be applied to the wiggle base frequency in the range. But you don't have to do that. You can make those band intervals or harmonic intervals be larger or smaller. So that comes in to each one of our bands. We wiggle, and then we got our filter out. That is going to be our base frequency. And then I've also added in a little bit of inharmonic, the ability to add a little bit of inharmonic range to each one of these filter bands. So do we want every single band to be in a perfect harmonic series, or do we want to add a little bit of inharmonic noise to it to give it a little bit of a different timbre? So what that is going to do is that gives us a base frequency with maybe a little bit of inharmonic sort of range there, and then our harmonics overall, which will increase the interval of each one of these bands, and then you wiggle it just a little bit. You take your harmonics and you are multiplying that by your base range with the little inharmonics added on, and then you wiggle it. That goes into your cutoff frequency. And then we have 6 of these. Closer to the base frequency or the fundamental, that is at full range. And then the gain is just brought down by half on each one of these bands. So the higher bands, while they would be easier to hear, they are in lower volume overall. Okay. So that would sound like, let me go back here and go here. Okay. So here's our noise. You can hear the little wobble. And you can hear a little bit of, sometimes, the filter gets a little too sharp, and you can hear that move around a little bit. So let's see, our wiggle range. How much are we going to wiggle? A lot? Or just a little bit? Right? And this is how much the filters are filtering or sort of sweeping around on those bands of noise. The other thing we've done is added a little bit of randomization as to the bass frequency so that it gives a little bit of variation there. Let's see. Range, harmonic bass frequency. Right, so if I can take this up here, right, we'll wiggle some more up there, and you can actually kind of visually see the range go from 1 to -1 and sort of calm down around 0. In harmonics, let's bring the bass frequency down again, add some, let's see, bass frequency, harmonic interval. Right, so if I bring this down, the intervals or those bands will be closer together. The higher it goes, the higher frequency bands get excited. You can hear more of those. So what I'm finding with this noise is that bringing it down, bring the bass frequency down in the hundreds to 300 range, and allowing it to wiggle a little. And then I guess something else to point out is we do have everything's being sort of controlled by this envelope, and there is a decay time on it. It's a little more obvious on the noise, right? We can make it way too short, and it still wiggles, but you're not hearing it. The noise can go on for a little bit longer, so we might want to clean it up by taking this down a little bit. All right. What are you complaining about with my harmonics? All right, let's bring down the gain here for the noise and introduce the tonal side of things. Right, so this gives the wobble, the pitched element versus the kind of the noise element, giving the more character of the actual projectile. This gives that sense of movement a little bit more with the tonal side of things. So what do we have on the tonal synth? This one is okay, so I created the actual entire setup patch part of it for the tonal generator, but in each one of these it is a series of 4 oscillators that then break down into other patches, and this is a little bit of an experiment, and I find it hasn't worked out all that well, which is crossfading between oscillators, just to give me a quick way of trying out different oscillators and seeing how they'll affect everything, and so I can switch between. Maybe it's too low to really tell. I can crossfade between different oscillators, sine, saw, square, and triangle, to try out how each one of these, like, would the different timbres affect how this would sound and which would be the best approach. But when I take any one of these oscillators, I am driving the frequency with the wobble. So we have that same wiggle pitch input coming from the actual timeline, and then the range, how much. So if this goes between 1 and -1, so this now will wobble between 200 and -200, or down to 0, which is probably not going to be, well, you wouldn't hear that part at that point. Sorry, it's going to wiggle around plus and minus 200 around 300. So that would take the bass frequency as low as 100. We're adding a little randomization in there so that it's not the same every single time. If I bring up, let me do this. Let me go back a level so that I'm affecting all of them. And taking this up, let's see. Oh, sorry. Let's see. Why is my pitch base frequency? About my randomize. Oh. Let's see here. Let me go back. You're complaining about this one too. Let me go to this base frequency. There we go. Sorry, I wasn't high enough up the chain. So pitch base frequency here. Obviously, we can bring it into the range of not making too much sense. We can say what the range is again, so only wiggle a little bit. Let me bring it back down so it makes more sense. Or wiggle a whole bunch. All right. So those are the 3 generators that I have. I have the noise generators, I have the tonal generators, and I have this sort of impact. So there's also noise, but just there for the purposes of the impact. So I still think there is a lot of room for improvement of the overall quality of the audio. I, of course, had it in a more effective range earlier, and I've just messed around with all of these ranges. So let's see if we can get it back into some semblance of normalcy. All right, there's too much pitch in there, but now is the time that I would like to turn it over to you in the comments as to ways that I could improve the overall sound. I think the approach certainly works. Obviously, we're getting the input float values to drive the wiggle and the movement of either these multiple bands or the tonal oscillator. I think there could be improvements on making it sound more metallic. I think that would work in sort of leaning more into the inharmonic nature of these different oscillators and the intervals that they operate at. So I think we have the wiggle and the range and the what's driving it and how it's setting it up, but what improvements might I make in the overall approach to either the noise generator and these 6 bands, or this oscillator and these 4 oscillators working together. So is it more oscillators, less oscillators? I don't think it's more. I think it's probably the way that they're being used and the intervals that they operate at. So if you have any ideas, comments, suggestions, things that can improve, please let me know. But I did want to share this kind of fun setup for some of the cool things that I am seeing in these variant projects. So yeah, let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions. Put them in the comments down below, and I will see you again next time.